Welcome to the VEROSCOPE analysis today of Kerry Roberts. And today we're carrying on with the Commonwealth versus Karen Reid trial, but it's the cross-examination of Kerry Roberts today. If you're new to the trial itself, this is Kerry Roberts, and she was a witness in the Karen Reid trial. And the Karen Reid trial, this is Karen Reid, is about the murder of a Boston cop called John O'Keefe, who was found on the front lawn of another Boston cop called Brian Albert. And through various poor investigations and witness cooperation, the state decided to prosecute Karen for the murder of John O'Keefe, and there were two trials. It was a mistrial in trial one, and she was found not guilty of the murder in trial two. So, without further ado, let's listen to her on the witness stand being cross-examined by Alan Jackson, and then we'll come back to the actual analysis itself. The overall assessment for those who are time constrained is that Kerry Roberts highly likely shows conscious testimony management. So we see a binary memory pattern, and we see this in a lot of the gaslighters and deceivers, don't we, that we analyze on the VEROSCOPE channel. If you're new to the VEROSCOPE channel, daily we analyze using forensic linguistic intelligence and statement analysis and sometimes body language to assess the witness statement itself. And we go into some detail linguistically. So the overall assessment is that we find her to be strategic hedging. There was a calm acceptance when she was proven wrong by video evidence from Jackson. And I think there are multiple deception markers that reveal conscious management of the narrative rather than innocent contamination through the influence of Jen McCabe as an example. So let's carry on then and see what she has to say for herself on the witness stand.
Your Honor, may I? Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Roberts. How are you?
Good morning.
Under questioning by Mr. Brennan, you talked about the number of times or a number of times that you have spoken to the DA's office or some member of the DA's office. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about that.
Sure.
How many times in total do you think you've spoken to a representative of the district attorney's office?
I don't have a number.
Would you say it's more than a dozen?
Yes.
Would you say it's more than 50?
Maybe around there.
Okay.
Maybe less.
And who are the folks, Ms. Roberts, that you have spoken to at the DA's office?
Steve Nelson,
Okay.
the victim advocate, Yuri Buchanan, who's a state police officer, and the DA, Michael Morrissey.
And
we've looked at Morrissey in some detail. If you haven't seen that VEROSCOPE video where he is essentially going off on a rant before the trial, giving his opinion as to the guilt of Karen Reid, and furious that anyone dares to reassign this assigned guilt that he's given her. It's quite a video. He is quite a character. If you haven't seen it, do go and check it out in the VEROSCOPE history.
what was the? I want to take those in order, and two of those are at the DA's office. One of those is not. Yuri Buchanan is not at the DA's office. He's actually a Massachusetts state police officer. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's take those in order. How many times would you say you've spoken to Mr. Nelson? Just if you can give me a thumbnail.
I don't know. Maybe 30, 40.
Okay. Have you received what you would consider to be updates on the progress of the case?
I would ask questions, and he would give me very broad answers.
Okay. Were your questions ever...
So notice that she's sensitive about this, isn't she? She's sensitive about being used to pass messages and get updates on the case. And so she begins to hedge. Did you notice that? And so we put in a deceptive marker in the statement, recognizing the hedging language being introduced by her for the first time under cross-examination.
Prompted by conversations that you had with your friend Miss McCabe, Jen McCabe.
Sometimes Jen would say, could you ask Steve this? Because I had a rapport with Steve.
Okay. Were those conversations by text message or phone calls or both?
I would usually text him.
Okay.
So this is concerning because Jen has been having lunch at the lead investigator's house with his wife. She's stuck her nose in and has got herself into the lead investigator's house talking with his wife. And it seems where she doesn't have the ability to get in directly, she uses minions to act as her intelligence sources. So Jen is playing a larger role in the conspiracy which Brian Albert described to the public in his interview after the trial. He described in detail what the conspiracy is and the subjects that would need to be involved in his conspiracy theory. And Jen McCabe certainly is amongst those, the puppet master, so to speak. Okay, in my opinion, in Brian Albert's theory of the conspiracy, go and check out his video if you haven't seen that.
What about the conversations with Mr. Morrissey, the elected district attorney? What were the circumstances under which you contacted Mr. Morrissey?
Well, during the course of this trial, the witnesses have been harassed.
That's not my question.
Objection.
But I'm answering your question.
Hold on. I'm going to...
So there was a lot of press coverage, wasn't there, of Turtle Boy, and they were saying that he was harassing the witnesses, and there was a lot of press coverage on social media as well about the case. So it's and wasn't Turtle Boy arrested and charged, and he went to jail for quite a while, I understand, for this witness intimidation, and he is still facing prosecution. And isn't it Michael Morrissey, the DA, that has brought those charges? So it's a real little nest of vipers, isn't it?
Sustain the objection. Next question.
Thank you. Were you phoning him? Were you meeting him? Were you texting him? That's my question. The circumstances of the communication itself.
I phoned the office asking for a meeting, had a meeting, and then he left a voicemail at some point and texted me and said, I just left you a voicemail.
Okay. Was that the extent of your conversations with Mr. Morrissey, the elected DA?
I had one other meeting with other witnesses and the DA.
And turning to Yuri Butnik, what were the logistics? I'll use that word instead of circumstances. What were the logistics of you contacting Yuri Butnik? Was it by phone? Was it in-person meetings, text messages, or all of the above?
All of the above.
How many times would you say that you've spoken with Yuri Butnik?
Spoken or communicated?
Sorry, good point. Communicated with?
Probably 20.
Okay. When was the last time? Actually, let me ask a different question. Have you ever met with Mr. Brennan before your testimony today?
Yes.
What was the circumstance of that meeting?
Going over my testimony from the last trial.
Okay.
And sort of just asking questions on what might come this time. Would I be cross-examined? I wasn't.
Okay, so you notice the cognitive overload. So in would go the deceptive marker. You notice the hedging, the sort ofs, the kind ofs, the could be's, the would be's, the maybes. Did you notice that pattern? If you did, and you're noticing at conversational speed, and you've been watching the VEROSCOPE channel to learn statement analysis, well done. Because the ability to spot deception markers at conversational speed is the goal. And we get there by looking at the written statement and getting practiced at analysing the written statement, and then gradually that conversational speed ability, which means you're able to talk with someone or interview someone and get a good feeling quickly as to whether they're being honest with you or if they're being deceptive. And that's a great skill to have in life. And also, at some point, in terms of self-reflection and the ability to spot your own self-deceptions through the language that you use internally, is something that might actually be a video in its own right, but you'll begin to notice your own internal voice and where self-deception can be harmful in many senses. Okay, let's carry on.
last time. Just sort of, all the things went through my testimony.
Okay, when was that meeting?
I don't know, in the last couple of weeks. I don't know.
Okay, where was the meeting?
At the DA's office.
Who else was there?
Different times that I would meet with him, Steve Nelson would be there. One time, Brian Tully was there. Mr. Brennan's assistant.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Brennan's assistant.
Okay.
I don't know. Adam Lally and Laura McLaughlin.
Were those meetings, you said there was 2 meetings? Or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, I think there were 2.
Okay. Were those close in time to one another? You mentioned 2 weeks ago. Were those both 2
I
weeks
said a few weeks ago, but the other meeting was just before I was going to testify.
Meaning, what, yesterday, the day before?
Last week.
Was that also at the DA's office?
Yes, it was.
Were you shown anything at that meeting?
Was I shown anything?
Videos, testimony, transcripts,
No.
reports?
No.
Nothing?
Okay, so notice in deception, they will often question the question, and this is done sometimes by cognitive time, as we can see here. So the question is sensitive because obviously she was shown something and doesn't really want to say. Let's see what it was that she was shown.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We went over my testimony on the screen.
Ah, that's what you were shown.
And then I just talked about my testimony from the last time.
Okay. When you say you went over your testimony...
Okay, so she's very sensitive about her testimony on the screen. That's why she wanted to avoid, why she questioned the question, why she was lying. It's sensitive to her. And she's in a deceptive frame of mind where she is deceptive where she doesn't need to be. And we notice that with all of the House defendants, many of whom are suspects, now that Karen Read has been found innocent or not guilty. Innocent in effect. So who did kill John O'Keefe? Who are the murderers? And is there a conspiracy that Brian Albert tells us in detail how the conspiracy would work? Is Brian Albert actually giving us an embedded confession in his description of how the conspiracy works? We're actually in the middle of Brian Albert's testimony at the moment. So if you haven't seen those, go back and have a look at some of the Brian Albert VEROSCOPE analysis.
On screen, what do you mean?
We watched my testimony from the first trial on a TV screen.
Okay, so you were shown something. You were shown a video of your prior testimony.
Yes.
So I'd like to see counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
Yeah, so Jackson was... A technique of the lawyers is you get them to lie about what they were shown because they're sensitive about it. They lie, then you point out their lie, and then you put them under real pressure. The beautiful Judge Beverly Cannoni recognizes exactly what Jackson is about to do. He's about to apply immense pressure to the witness, and she doesn't want the truth coming out, so she calls a sidebar. She knew exactly what Jackson was about to do, which is put her under pressure for her outright lie, even though it's a little white lie. People on the witness stand, they tell these all the time if they're not experienced. What did he show you anything yesterday? And because they're being deceptive, they say no, and then admit that you were shown things, and now you're caught in the lie. And so the lawyer puts pressure onto you. Why did you lie? etc. Yes, the beautiful judge, Beverly Cannoni, knows what's about to happen. She doesn't want her witness intimidated, inverted commas, in her eyes, so she puts a stop to it. In other words, she is helping the witness, is the other way of looking at it.
You are.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Other than watching your testimony, were you shown anything else? Transcripts, videos that you may have seen today, dash cam videos, anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I was shown anything.
Okay. Did you discuss other parts of your prior testimony?
Yes.
Okay. What was discussed concerning your prior testimony and how it would impact how you testified today on direct examination?
Mr. Brennan had just asked me, can you just tell me what happened? So I told him the story verbally.
Okay.
Okay, so we know that's not true, and that's not the reason why you were there, just to tell him your story. You were there to be coached. So what really happened? Let's see if Jackson can extract it.
Anything come up about specific instances of how you were going to testify today?
No.
Or yesterday?
No.
Okay. I want to talk to you a little bit, Ms. Roberts, about the video that you were shown by Mr. Brennan. It's the dash cam video of Officer Seraph. I'm not sure if you know which officer that is.
No, I don't.
It's the one that you've been watching.
Okay.
That dash cam that shows your car in the foreground.
Yep.
I'd like to ask you a couple of quick questions about your memory of that incident, and then perhaps show you the video depending upon what the answer is.
Sure.
Do you remember when the officer first arrived, you and Miss Reed specifically were at Mr. O'Keefe's body?
Yes.
Where was Miss McCabe at that moment?
She was there too, but she was waving down the first responders because it was dark out and he couldn't see us. He had a spotlight.
You and Miss Reed were both providing some level of CPR, some level of life-saving efforts.
Yes, as was Miss McCabe.
What was Miss McCabe doing?
When I was doing chest compressions and Karen was doing mouth-to-mouth, Jen was either on the phone with 911 or handing me baby blankets.
Okay.
At some point, she did take over doing chest compressions because I asked her to.
Okay. So Miss Reed was focused on Mr. O'Keefe's head, face area.
Correct.
You were focused on the chest.
Correct.
Miss McCabe was, at some point at least, she had called 911 or dialed 911.
Yes.
When Miss McCabe dialed 911 and was on the phone with 911, isn't it true that she was actually in a vehicle at the time?
That is not true.
She was outside?
She was outside.
That's your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Have you heard the 911 tape of that call?
Yes.
Okay. You're aware that that tape was also captured by an open line on Miss Reed's phone?
Yes.
That open line that phone was dropped inside the cab of an SUV?
It was in the back seat, I believe.
Right. So in order for that for that open line to capture sort of the background of Miss McCabe's side of the 911 call, Miss
Yep.
McCabe would have had to have been either at or in the cab of the truck?
The back of the SUV was open. She was standing there.
Got it. Okay, so she was right next to or adjacent to the cab of the SUV.
She was in back of it with the back was up.
I see, that back hatch?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember Miss Reed's statement, her initial statement to Officer Seraph when he got out of his patrol
I do
car?
not.
Do you remember her saying something to the effect of, "My boyfriend, I left him, he never came home"?
I do not.
Okay. Have you listened with audio to that dash cam at the moment that Officer Seraph arrives at the scene and y'all flag him down?
We just watched it.
Right. Have you listened to it for the audio side? I mean, in other words, instead of focusing on the
no.
video.
No.
Okay. I'd like to ask you to do that with the court's permission. This is exhibit, it's been previously marked as exhibit 4. And with the court's permission, I'd like to play that from runtime about 3:50 and ask the witness to concentrate most readily at about 4:07, maybe 10 seconds into it. I'm going to give a little run up and then ask you to listen very closely to the audio.
Yep.
With the court's permission?
Yes.
Okay, Evan. Stop. Do you recognize the video as being the same video that you saw and you looked at on direct examination?
Yes.
Okay. In just a quick second, the door to the car, you're going to hear it open. I'd like to ask you to pay special attention to the audio portion and Miss Reed's voice.
Okay.
If you can hear it. Go ahead. Stop. Did you hear that last statement?
No.
Did you hear a woman's voice kind of faint in the background?
I heard a voice, but I didn't make out what she was saying.
Okay. Did it sound like she said, "My boyfriend, I dropped him off and he never came home"?
Objection.
Could you hear that, Ms. Roberts?
No.
Okay.
Next question.
That's all I have for the video. We can take that down. You talked about, on direct examination, some of the injuries that you saw Mr. O'Keefe having suffered, both what you observed at the scene and then what you observed later at the hospital.
Yep.
And you noted those injuries, correct?
Say it again?
You noted those injuries. Those were...
Yes.
You made note of those.
Yes.
Or at least some of them. You said that you saw a hematoma of some sort over his right eye. Is that right?
Correct.
And there was some significant swelling to his right eye?
Correct.
At the scene?
Correct.
Did you also notice a laceration just above his right eye, just under the eyebrow?
I saw it at the hospital, but I don't know if at the scene I saw it.
Fair enough. At some point you saw that laceration to his right eye?
Yes, I did.
Did you also see a laceration to the left side of his nose, a smaller laceration to the left side of his nose?
I don't recall. I know there was blood coming from here, but I don't know if it was coming from inside his nose or from a laceration. I don't know.
When you said here, you're pointing to the left side of your nostril.
Yes.
And basically just above the nostril, correct?
Yes, right around the nostril, there was blood coming this way.
Okay, draining to the left side of his cheek?
Yes.
Okay. You also saw, once you got to the hospital, that his left eye had swollen as well.
Now, both eyes were swollen and filled with what looked like blood.
And his left eye was black as well as his right eye?
Correct.
Okay. You also indicated that you saw, well, actually, I don't know if you did or not, so I don't want to put words in your mouth. I apologize. Did you see his right arm?
I did.
Did it appear to you that he had some abrasions or lacerations, parallel abrasions and lacerations and punctures on his right arm?
They were scratches.
Scratches.
That's interesting. An immediate challenge to the description from Jackson to what is probably an agreed scratches, an indicator of cooperation amongst the witnesses and coaching from the prosecution.
Ms. Roberts, you've previously testified that when you arrived, let me take you back instead of jumping right into it. After you met up with Ms. Reed at Jen McCabe's house that morning, so this is just after 5 o'clock or so, the three of you arrived back at One Meadows, correct? Is that right? I'm sorry.
Correct.
Okay. You're trailing the Lexus SUV, correct?
Correct.
The Lexus pulls in to the driveway and you pull in directly behind Ms. Reed and Jennifer McCabe is driving.
Correct.
You're driving your SUV, correct?
Correct.
You've previously testified that when you arrived at One Meadows at that moment, that once that SUV, the Lexus SUV, had pulled in and you pulled in behind the Lexus. You got out of the Lexus, sorry, you got out of your SUV, they got out of the Lexus, and that's a point at which Karen showed you the back of her taillight and said something to the effect of, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you think I hit him? Do you recall that?
I recall saying I didn't know if it was when we were coming or going, but she did point out the taillight.
Okay. When you previously testified under oath, your quote was, quote, Karen pulls in and I pull in behind her.
Mr. Jackson.
Give page and line numbers when
Yes.
offering statements.
Sure. It's the SGJ, the grand jury, page 58, lines 14 through 19 for court and counsel.
Thank you.
Did you testify, quote, Karen pulls in and I pull in behind her, period. When we get out, and Karen is now showing us the back of the car saying, my taillight, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you guys think I hit him? Question mark. End quote. Is that how you testified?
May I see it?
Sure. I apologize, I've already got it up here.
Does it have a date on it, Mr. Jackson?
It does. 4/26/22. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have the pages after this?
I'm sure I do.
Because in the pages after this, I say...
My question, Ms. Roberts, is that a quote that I just said, is that accurate? Do you see it in the...
Yes, it is.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
Just for reference.
So we had an attempt to take control, which was rejected by Jackson, as it normally is when the witness tries to take control. But interesting, isn't it? She's determined to say what she wants to say. So this is the second time we've seen her attempt to gain control of the narrative. The first was the interruption with the witness intimidation, and this is the second time that she's tried to get the narrative onto what she wants to say rather than what Jackson is asking.
I'm going to show you both pages. That's the page I asked you to look at, and then the following page as well. Please take your time.
Okay.
What
I'm looking for is still not here, because I did say I wasn't sure if it was
Yes.
before or after.
Ms. Roberts, you do have to wait for a question.
Okay.
She's determined.
When you gave this testimony, you were in front of a grand jury, correct?
I'm not sure which one that is.
Do you remember testifying in front of a grand jury on April 26th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay, about 2 years ago.
Yes.
3 years ago. You were under oath at the time. Is that right?
Yes.
Things were fresher in your mind at that time than they are now, 3.5 years later, I'm guessing. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. You were asked the question to describe the circumstance when you arrived at One Meadows. Is that right?
Yes.
And the answer that you gave was, quote, we pulled into it's a driveway, there's 2 cars, and then 2 cars, then a single, so John's car is there. Karen pulls in, and I pull in behind her. When we get out, and Karen is now showing us the back of the back of the car, saying, my taillight, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you guys think I hit him? That was your testimony at the time, correct?
Yes.
And just to be clear, I'd like to...
She's very nervous about this because her breathing has changed. She's hardly breathing and she's having difficulty swallowing. So she's stuck in that state where because of cognitive overload and stress and concern about where Jackson is heading, and it's a sensitive area, she's unable to swallow and breathe effectively, which in itself causes a circular problem of you're not breathing properly, so you can't swallow. You can't swallow, so you're not breathing, and it's getting worse for her. So if you notice that, we'll see how she gets on.
Take a look at a quick video that you may or may not have seen before. We'll find out. Your Honor, I'd like to have this. Actually, this has already been previously marked as Exhibit 12C, as in Charlie.
Okay.
And it's a short clip. So I'll play the entire clip with the court's permission.
Okay.
She managed to
Let's go
break
ahead and take a look at
state
that
and grab
video.
a breath.
Can you pause? Do you recognize what's depicted in the video?
Yeah, that's when we arrived at John's house.
Okay. And who's the person with the plaid red pants?
That is Jen.
And who's the person that's just rounding the back of the car in front?
That is Karen.
What is the car in front?
That's Karen's SUV.
That's the Lexus SUV.
Yes, it is.
Behind that Lexus SUV, Ms. Roberts, is there another car?
That's my car.
And who's getting out of that car?
I am.
Okay. And this is the point that you were describing in your, at least in the grand jury testimony at that time.
Yes.
This is the time that you're describing.
That I thought it was when we walked in.
This is the time that you were describing, right? When you arrive at the scene.
Yes.
Or, sorry, arrive at One Meadows.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play this through. Okay. You can stop it. And you can bring the lights up. You saw the interaction between all three of you and the vehicles, correct?
Yep.
At any point, did anybody stop and take a look at the taillight or the rear end of the car?
Not when we were entering the house like I thought, but when we came out.
Okay. And there's no video of that?
I'm sorry?
There's no video of that?
No, I don't believe so.
Right. So the video that does exist describes nearly exactly the time that you testified that y'all stopped at the back of the taillight and Karen said, "Look, my taillight's broken. Oh my God, do you think I hit him?"
Correct.
Right? Okay. And that obviously was incorrect.
It was incorrect.
So your memory was faulty about that incident, that part of that incident at least.
It happened on the way out of the house.
So your memory was faulty about that part of the incident that you testified to at the grand jury.
Yes.
Okay. You were interviewed on January 29th. You've already testified to that, correct? By
Yes.
Troopers Dunn and my memory's failing me now.
There were two. I don't know who they were.
Okay. I'm sure it's in my notes somewhere. Two individuals that interviewed you on January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, things were very, very fresh in your mind at that point.
Yes, but I believe I was in shock. So,
The incident had just happened.
yes.
Okay. And you were asked to recount certain of the specifics about the incident that you had just experienced, not days or weeks, but just hours before, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you did your best, I'm sure, Ms. Roberts, to be as full-throated as possible, to provide them with as much detailed information as you could, and to be as honest as you could.
Yes.
I mean, you weren't going to lie to these police officers, right?
No.
In your very first conversation with those two troopers on January 29th, you didn't mention anything about a taillight or a cracked taillight, or
No,
even
I
having
did not.
seen a cracked taillight, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I
You
didn't
then-
want to accuse anybody of anything.
You were then interviewed on February.
I didn't want to accuse anybody of anything. So she's telling us that she saw a cracked taillight, but didn't want to accuse anybody of anything, and so didn't tell the police because she didn't want to accuse Karen. Interesting, isn't it? What do you make of that?
1st, 2022, a few days later, correct?
I don't know.
Does that
I
sound
don't know
right?
the exact date. I was interviewed again, but I don't know the exact date.
Okay. During your interview, let me withdraw that and ask a different question. On February 1st, or whatever day it was, the subsequent time that you were interviewed just a few days later, you did then, for the first time, describe the taillight that you saw, correct?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you looked at a report?
Yes, please.
I'm handing you a 2-page report, Ms. Roberts. I put a little dot on the second page just to direct your attention to the discussion related to the taillight, if you want to take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay. May I?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that you were interviewed on February 1st, 2022 by a trooper by the name of Connor Keefe and a trooper by the name of Kathleen Prince?
Yes. Did Connor Keefe write that report?
I'm sorry?
Did Connor Keefe write that report?
Trooper Kathleen Prince wrote the report.
Okay.
Does that matter? No?
Nope.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection that you did discuss the taillight at that time?
Yes.
And did you tell Trooper Prince and Trooper Keefe that...
So that's interesting, isn't it? A third attempt to gain control. And these are good tactics to use against an attorney. Keep them on their toes with their paperwork, ask to see it, etc. Good tactics.
you noticed the back right taillight in the middle, quote, in the middle, your words, was broken and a piece of the metal encasement was pushed forward.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't say that the taillight was completely shattered, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say that the entire lens was missing, correct?
Correct.
You said it was broken in the middle. Is that
Yes.
right? And then you described today that a square piece was missing.
Yes, that's the piece I was referring to in the middle.
Just in the middle of the taillight, though. That was how you described it.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to shift gears for a quick second and talk about...
Well, that's not tens of pieces, is it?
a March 7th, 2023 text message with victim witness advocate Steve Nelson. Do you remember communicating? You don't have to know the exact date, but if you do, fine. Do you remember communicating in March of 2023 with victim witness advocate Steve Nelson about the Ring camera at One Meadows?
I don't know the exact date, but yes.
Okay. Is it true that you contacted him to inform him that the O'Keefes needed to replace or wanted to replace the driveway Ring camera, that same Ring camera that we just literally saw through that perspective
Yes.
of you arriving?
Yes.
Did Mr. Nelson indicate that he believed that would be fine to replace that Ring camera if the O'Keefes wished to do that?
I don't remember if he said it would be fine, but at some point they were told they could replace it. It had broken. It wasn't working.
Did he indicate that he would check with DDA Adam Lally and then get back to you?
I don't know.
At some point, you were informed that the O'Keefes had the green light or the go-ahead to replace that Ring camera at One Meadows. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then ultimately you then relayed that to the O'Keefes that they had the green light. You've talked to somebody at the DA's office and they said, yeah, go ahead and replace the camera, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever receive any kind of response from the DA's office either before or after?
The Ring cameras. Proctor said something about the Ring cameras opposite 34 Fairview. And who was responsible for collecting all of the Ring camera evidence? Anyone knows? Put it in the comments. That would be very helpful, because it seems to me like all of the Ring camera evidence has gone walkies. with Chloe.
After you relayed this information to the O'Keefes to say, wait, hold on, we need to do a reconstruction, we need to make sure that the camera is in the exact same spot that it was at the time of the incident.
No.
Any communication like that?
No.
So the communication that you got was, yep, go ahead and replace it, it's no big deal.
Correct.
Okay. And ultimately, you learned that the O'Keefes did, in fact, replace that Ring camera.
Correct.
You have already described your relationship, at least in part, with Canton Police Officer Sergeant Michael Lank, correct?
Yes.
He is friends with you?
His daughter is friends with my daughter.
You're friendly with the family?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that he's also friends with the Albert family?
No. Well, no.
Were you aware that Michael Lank grew up with Chris Albert?
I was not.
Have you ever been in a social setting with both the Lanks and the Alberts?
No.
You're aware, obviously, you were at the scene. He was the first officer to respond to the crime scene at 34 Fairview on January 29th after Officer Seraph and after Mulaney arrived, correct? Then it was Sergeant Lank.
I don't know which order. I did see Sergeant Lank there, yes.
Was he the, excuse me a second. I was just reminded, you indicated that you don't remember the date of that text communication between yourself and Mr. Nelson.
No, I don't remember the date.
Would it refresh your recollection if you looked at a text message between the two of you about the subject of the Ring camera?
Sure.
Okay.
Do I need to know the date?
May I approach? I need to know the date.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks.
Judge is pulling faces.
Is it March 7th, 2023?
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ellen. You indicated that you did recognize Sergeant Lank at the scene.
Yes, I did.
You had a conversation with him.
No. I said, Mike, is that you? He said yes, and that was it.
All right. Following that, the next day, you did go to his house. You've already described that.
I did.
You indicated that you went to his house to drop off your daughter for a play date. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also indicated that you took Jennifer McCabe with you.
Yes, because I drove Jen McCabe to the O'Keefe's house, so she was leaving to go home with me. So I was going to drop her off.
Okay, so your memory is you took Miss McCabe from where over to the Lanks' house?
I think she was at home.
So you picked her up?
Yes.
At her house?
Yes.
With anybody else?
With my daughter, my son. I picked up her and either one or two of her daughters, I don't remember.
And then you drove over to the Lanks' house, is that right?
No, I drove to the O'Keefe's house.
First?
Yes.
And what did you do with the O'Keefe's
Then
house?
left a couple of kids, and my daughter wanted to go to the Lanks' house, so I drove my daughter to the Lanks' house before driving home.
And Jen's child was with you on the way from Jen's house over to the O'Keefe's house?
Yes, one or two daughters, I don't know.
Dropped the one or two kids off at the O'Keefe's, is that right?
As well as my son.
As well as your son. Then you went to drop off your daughter for the play date.
Well, she was 13, so it wasn't a play date.
Whatever, I don't know what you call it.
I know.
I don't have a 13-year-old. What a date, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
so she went over to her friend's house, yes.
Okay. But you took Jennifer McCabe with you?
Yes, because I was driving her home.
Back to her house without her kids?
So, Jen McCabe's children have been dropped off somewhere, and she now gets in the car to go with Kerry to the investigator's house.
Yes, she was going home.
Were you going to go back to the O'Keefe's and pick up her kids and then take all of them home?
I didn't have a plan. I mean, Patrick,
Okay.
nephew, is my son's best friend.
Got it.
So he wanted to be with him.
Okay.
And now we have deceptive markers and excuse making and reasons why being given. There was a reason why given immediately, actually, from memory.
Did you, I think you just answered this, but I want to make sure I'm clear about it. You didn't take separate cars. You all went in the same car, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody stop by or go by 34 Fairview during that roundabout?
No.
Nobody stopped off at
So she had to think about that. So Jen and her are now alone in the car. And she had to think, did they go to 34 Fairview? No, because she was dropping her child off to, by coincidence, the investigator's house. But she says they didn't go to 34 Fairview, the two of them. So and how was Jen going to get home? And how was she going to pick her children up?
34 Fairview, either on the way or on the way back?
No. I don't believe so. That wouldn't be the route in which.
Ooh, and then she was really uncomfortable with that. And so now has to use extra hedging. And I don't believe so. And then extra reasons why, because it wouldn't be the direct route.
To get to my house.
Right, exactly. You indicated that you stayed, even though you were dropping off your daughter, y'all stayed, you and Miss McCabe stayed at Sergeant Lank's house for some 45 minutes. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
What are they doing at Sergeant Lank's house for 45 minutes?
And Sergeant Lank's wife, you indicated, was in the back seat of your car?
Yes.
Did y'all ever go inside the house?
Jen went in to go to the bathroom.
What's the wife doing in the back seat of the car? And now Jen's gone into the bathroom.
Was Sergeant Lank there?
I don't know. I didn't go in.
You didn't have any communications with Sergeant Lank?
I'm sorry?
You didn't have any communications with Sergeant Lank himself, Mike Lank, on that trip?
No, I did not.
But you don't know whether or not Jen did?
I don't know whether or not Jen did. She went in the house to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay, so to go to the bathroom is sometimes an excuse to create a time gap, but 45 minutes is a long time, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look at the actual analysis itself. A big thank you to the trial channel, first of all, who very kindly edit all of these videos down so that we don't have to wait around waiting for sidebars. So if you like trials that are well edited, do check out the trial channel and subscribe to them. And if you're in the mood for subscribing and liking, and if you've got any value out of the video so far, do subscribe and hit the like button. That would be very much appreciated. So let's carry on with the actual analysis itself now and see how much of this you found yourself and also what extra deception markers you've pinpointed. Put those in the comments if you can. So, overall assessment, we said it was highly likely that we've got conscious testimony management. Kerry Roberts' testimony reveals a sophisticated pattern of conscious testimony management rather than innocent memory contamination, which she could have got from McCabe. We looked at this as a possibility. From her admission of, "I didn't want to accuse anybody," do you remember that? Revealing consciousness of the tail-light significance from day one, or literally from moment one, to her binary memory pattern. In other words, this is perfect recall on safe topics and strategic amnesia on threats. And have you noticed in other VEROSCOPE videos that this is a very similar pattern, isn't it? That the deceivers and the gaslighters and the liars use. This binary memory pattern. To her calm acceptance when video evidence proves her grand jury testimony false. The linguistic markers point unmistakably to awareness of exposure risk. With over 50 documented contacts that she admits to, or slightly less, she says, with the prosecution serving as Jennifer McCabe's conduit to investigators. What was Jennifer McCabe doing for 45 minutes inside Lank's house whilst his wife was in the car with Roberts? What is going on with this lot? And Proctor. Jennifer McCabe is having lunch with Proctor's wife in his house. It's incredible that these investigators, inverted commas, didn't recuse themselves immediately, but instead got involved in Brian Albert's conspiracy. So the 45-minute bathroom visit, what on earth was going on with that? So Act 1, the confession in denial. Jackson says, in your very first conversation with those two troopers on January the 29th, you didn't mention anything about a taillight or a cracked taillight, or you seen a cracked taillight, did you? No, I did not. Okay. I didn't want to accuse anybody of anything. So, this is unprompted and unnecessary. So there are all sorts of deceptive markers which go in before we even read the words. It's unprompted explanation. She was not asked why she didn't mention the taillight, yet she volunteers justification. This single sentence reveals consciousness of guilt from day one. An innocent witness does not think, I better not mention this broken taillight because it might accuse someone. This isn't the thought pattern of an innocent. This is after the fact justification. Oh, I better not mention this broken taillight because it might accuse someone. That's what she wants us to believe is her excuse. It's not credible. She understood immediately that the taillight implied Karen hit John, she would have us believe. She made a conscious choice to withhold information she believed was incriminating. This is what she's telling us. This is not memory failure. This is not contamination. This is guilty knowledge of what the taillight meant, followed by deliberate omission, followed by later introduction when investigators made it clear this was the theory they needed supported. Can you see how she's asking us to believe that she deliberately withheld evidence only in order to suddenly have the memory again once it was wanted and fit the narrative? Do you see? But she can't have it both ways. This is guilty knowledge of what the taillight meant, followed by deliberate omission, followed by later introduction, when investigators made it clear this was the theory they needed supported. So she reveals she knew the significance and chose silence, then later chose to speak when it served the prosecution narrative. And she has admitted this to us openly. This is the problem with lying. You get caught. Can you see how we've caught her in her own words in the deception? Because she cannot have it both ways. Act 2, the web of contact. From witness to collaborator and intelligence gatherer. So Jackson says, how many times in total do you think you've spoken to a representative of the district attorney's office? I don't have a number. Would you say it's more than a dozen? Yes, this is her truthful marker, and this is her deceptive marker. She knows it looks ridiculous because it's approaching 50. Hence we get the I don't pattern, which we know so well, don't we? For those following VEROSCOPE, you might have a little smile because you recognize this. Isn't it strange how deceivers and gaslighters and liars all have similar patterns, regardless of the case? Would you say it's more than 50? Maybe around there. How many times would you say you've spoken to Mr. Nelson? I don't know. Look, the same pattern. Maybe 30, 40. Do you see? So we have a deception pattern being established. First it's denial, and then surrender. Denial, surrender. So she follows the same pattern. Were your questions ever prompted by conversations that you had with your friend, Miss McCabe? Sometimes Jen would say, could you ask Steve this? Because I had a rapport with Steve. So Jen McCabe's intelligence gathering operation extends to using her minion, Roberts, as her information gatherer. In the conspiracy, in Albert's conspiracy, which he explained so well. When 50 becomes I don't have a number, notice the hedging on verifiable facts. When asked for a total number, she claims to have none, yet immediately provides specific ranges when pressed. So she's entering the cross-examination in a deceptive mindset, where she's being deceptive, unnecessarily so. And this becomes a marker in its own right, which again is common amongst the deceivers and liars, that they become deceptive where it's unnecessary. The brain is essentially having trouble at conversational speed identifying when it's safe and when it isn't safe, and so takes the baseline of be deceptive about everything. This transforms Roberts from passive witness to active participant in case development. So has she crossed the line where she enters Albert's conspiracy? The phrase, I had a rapport with Steve, reveals consciousness of special relationship. For a peripheral witness who merely found a victim, 50 plus contacts is unprecedented. This level of communication creates massive opportunity for narrative alignment and memory contamination. She isn't the major witness unless it's important for narrative alignment and memory contamination to occur from Lally and others. So the intelligence conduit, Roberts did not merely communicate with prosecutors. She became Jennifer McCabe's intermediary for information gathering. Sometimes Jen would say, could you ask Steve this? Because I had a rapport with Steve. This transforms the dynamic from passive witness to active intelligence network and intelligence operative within Brian Albert's conspiracy theory, if Brian Albert's conspiracy theory is true. And if that is the case, it's highly likely that Roberts would be extremely cooperative with the FBI rather than be involved criminally in a conspiracy charge. So we were considering, weren't we, who is likely to cooperate with the FBI first and have sufficient impact. I think if Roberts cooperates, not only will she be safe herself, but I suspect she holds a lot of the key. But Jennifer McCabe too, who, and of course the FBI would most likely only do deals with people not involved in the actual violence itself, or played a very peripheral role in the violence, or maybe witnessed the violence. So will Jen McCabe be first to cooperate with the FBI, or do you think Kerry Roberts has enough information that her cooperation would be A, necessary, and would they include her in that? I don't know. It depends how much other evidence there is that she started to act as this intelligence network operative. She certainly had a lot of meetings, nearly 50. Wow. So the information flow network, Jennifer McCabe, Kerry Roberts, Steve Nelson, the DA's office. The information flows back through the same channel, and Roberts relays this information to McCabe. And don't forget, McCabe is also around Proctor's house, spending time with his wife. Why Roberts? She had 30 to 40 direct contacts with Nelson, the victim witness advocate. McCabe didn't have this access, so she used Roberts as her proxy. The pattern. McCabe asks Roberts to inquire about case details. Roberts texts Nelson with McCabe's questions. Nelson provides very broad answers. Do you remember she said that? Roberts relays the information back to McCabe. This occurs multiple times. We don't know how many exactly. And then we have the Lank visit. The conduit pattern extends beyond phone calls and texts. The complex route, Roberts, McCabe's house, they say O'Keefe's house, Lank's house, only makes sense if McCabe needed physical access to Sergeant Lank, the first police responder. How much communication is going on between the ATF agent, the Boston police officer, and these others in law enforcement, and how much is Roberts and McCabe and others acting as their conduit? Roberts, the facilitator, as the driver. McCabe is the intelligence gatherer in this case. And the target is Sergeant Lank's house. And the cover is the bathroom visit for 45 minutes. Roberts' role is to wait in the car and provide plausible reason for McCabe to be at the investigator's house. McCabe's access. Inside first responder's house, day after O'Keefe's death. This transfer. Roberts began a peripheral witness who found a victim. Through 50 plus contacts and serving as McCabe's conduit to investigators, she became an active participant in case information flow, facilitating both electronic, text to Nelson's, and physical, drive to Lank's, intelligence gathering operations. This is not witness behavior, this is network coordination. She cannot have it both ways. I see she's been on a recent YouTube interview. I saw a few clips of that. It might be interesting to analyze what she's actually said. So, Act 3, the tail light evolution. So, hours after the incident, no mention of the tail light. She tells us she didn't want to give the investigators the evidence. What a stupid mistake. Because that gives the entire lie to the rest of her evidence. I didn't want to accuse anybody of anything. And then 3 days later, we have its first appearance in her statement. Suddenly the tail light appears, and it's moved from a small square to people having access to that tail light in the sally port and deciding to take bigger pieces and sprinkle them around the crime scene. Broken in the middle, as she described it. A square piece was missing, not completely shattered, not the entire lens missing. Basic physical observation only. And then it moves on to the grand jury, where we have dramatic elaboration, and it now includes emotional dialogue. When we get out, and Karen is now showing us the back of the car saying, my tail light, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you guys think I hit him? Immediately upon arrival, this narrative has evolved significantly. To what degree has this narrative been prepared with the help of Jen McCabe? And then we have the cross-examination, and we have the time gap emerging. When confronted with video evidence, the timing becomes ambiguous. I don't know if it was when we were coming or going, she says. Then admits it happened on the way out. The video proves grand jury testimony false. No one stopped to examine the tail light upon arrival, and her response, calm acceptance, no distress, nothing to see here, move along. You cannot withhold information you don't have. She chose not to mention the tail light because I don't want to accuse anybody, she tells us. Proving she knew its significance, or proving that she's telling us that she knew its significance. Then it appears in her statement after investigators established their theory. And then it evolved through repeated telling into elaborate grand jury testimony, with McCabe's hocus-pocus involvement. Then video proved the testimony false. This is not contamination of the witness. The witness is involved in the construction of the narrative. Memory that chooses. So we have perfect recall on the safe topics, maybe 30, 40. The names, Yuri, Steve Nelson, Michael Morrissey. In the last couple of weeks, notice how she was very cagey about the meetings with Lally. Had to be dragged out of her, didn't it? At the DA's office for location. Specific injury observations was interesting. Do you remember the scratches part? She corrected it from punctures and wounds, or whatever words Alan Jackson used, to a better statement, an agreed upon statement of scratches. And then eventually she admits that she was shown something after all, wasn't she? We watched my testimony from the first trial on a TV screen. How about that? But it had to be the truth had to be dragged from her because she has deceptive mindset. Anyway, she has perfect memory recall when it's safe to do so, and strategic amnesia when it isn't safe to do so. I don't have a number, I don't recall, I don't remember, I don't know the exact date, I don't know, I don't remember, and on it goes. Yin and yang. Perfect recall for memory on safe topics, strategic amnesia on threat topics. It's impossible. It's not organic memory failure. because organic memory failure is random and it will affect all types, safe and unsafe. Roberts is 2 perfect recall on safe and 0 recall on dangerous. And also, isn't it interesting how when we see this pattern, we can almost mirror back to what it is that they're worried about. So almost mirroring back to the truth from their deceptive patterns. We have strategic memory management, which indicates conscious testimony management, not organic memory dysfunction. Act 5, the tells that cannot hide, the pattern of forced truth. Were you shown anything at the meeting? No, nothing. And then the lie is too much, so the hedge comes in. I don't think so. So no, it's just too much. Nothing. Too much hedge. This is her pattern when she lies. Okay. We went over my testimony on the screen when pushed. And do you remember that at that point, the beautiful Judge Beverly Cannoni saw the threat that Jackson was about to start pressurizing her for lying and decided to rescue her witness. So the classic deception response pattern, watch the progression, deny, no, nothing, immediate hedge, I don't think so. Then when pressed, admit. She was shown something. Deny, hedge, show the evidence, admit. And this is the same similar pattern we see from other liars on the witness stand, isn't it? From other VEROSCOPE cases that we've been analysing. It's the same pattern. It's deception. So, we have repeated vagueness. With anybody else? With my daughter, my son, I picked up her and either 1 or 2 of her daughters, I don't remember. Either 1 or 2 or 1 or 2, 1 or 2. So she's being vague. Why is she being vague in particular over this? This is the journey to Lanx, isn't it? So she's being deceptive anyway. Then we have the disappearing evidence. Is it true that you contacted him to inform him that O'Keefe needed to replace or wanted to replace the driveway ring camera? Yes. Did Mr. Nelson indicate that he believed that would be fine? I don't remember if he said it would be fine, but at some point they were told they could replace it. Did you ever receive any kind of response from the DA's office to say, wait, hold on, we need to do a reconstruction. We didn't make sure that the camera is in the exact same spot? No. Does anyone know more about the ring cameras? I don't think we've got to the bottom of the ring cameras at all. There's lots of hedging around here. I don't understand the ring cameras, so please do put in the comments more case detail if you have it. And has ring camera evidence gone missing? So the 45-minute bathroom, the day after, and it was repeated, wasn't it? But you also indicated that you took Jennifer McCabe with you. Yes, because I drove Jen McCabe to the O'Keefe's house. So we have these are reasons why we will often mark words like so or because in blue. We like to keep a track of how many reasons why a witness gives us in the statement. So here we have 3. You indicated that you stayed even though you were dropping off your daughter. You all stayed. And that you and Miss McCabe stayed at Sergeant Lank's house for some 45 minutes. Does that sound right? Yes. Did you all ever go inside the house? Jen went in to go to the bathroom. So they've driven all the way to Sergeant Lank's house. Sergeant Lank's wife comes out to sit in the car with Kerry, and Jen goes into the house for 45 minutes, and Kerry Roberts tells us that was only to use the toilet. And she says it with a straight face. And so she's going to sit in the car for 45 minutes whilst her friend, Jen McCabe, sits on the toilet. I don't believe it. And hence we have the deception indicators. Jen, and this is volunteered as well, isn't it? Jen went in to go to the bathroom. 3 uses of so and because. And then she repeats the reason why, so it's sensitive, that she was using the bathroom. And then we have video destroying memory. I recall saying, not I remember seeing. So do you recall that? I recall saying I didn't know if it was when we were coming or going, but she did point out the tail light. Interesting, isn't it? Look at the words. I recall saying I didn't know. She doesn't say seeing. She says, I recall saying, not I remember seeing. Truthful witnesses often remember events with I saw, or I remember seeing, or I recall watching. Deceptive witnesses remember their statements about events rather than the events themselves. Yeah, it's interesting. Very often with lies, eventually the lies turn into I recall the lie as opposed to I recall the event. Yeah, it's interesting. This whole area is deceptive. And worst, that she gave that reason I didn't want to get anyone into trouble. The calm acceptance of being proven wrong. So when it came to the ring cameras, we had calm acceptance, didn't we? We also have it here. And the answer that you gave was, quote, Karen pulls in and I pull in behind her. When we get out, Karen is now showing us the back of the car, saying my taillight. Do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God. Do you guys think I hit him? That was your testimony at the time, correct? Yes. At any point, did anybody stop and take a look at the taillight or the rear end of the car? Not when we were entering the house like I thought, but when we came out. And that was obviously incorrect. It was incorrect. So your memory was faulty about that part of the incident that you testified to at the grand jury. Yes. He had to drag it out of her like a stone, though, didn't he? And prove it with video. Only then did she admit the truth. She was just proven wrong by video evidence about testimony that she gave under oath at a grand jury. She doesn't care. She just moves on. What I'm looking for is still not here. Do you remember that part? She really wanted to find something in the testimony, but she couldn't find it. So, Act 9, the shifting ground from no to I don't believe so. Did anybody stop or go by 34 Fairview during that roundabout? No. Nobody stopped off at 34 Fairview either on the way or on the way back. I don't believe so. That wouldn't be the route in which to get to my house. This is interesting. This is hedging. And she also thought you would know whether or not you went to 34 Fairview, the murder house, before you went to Lancs. You wouldn't need to think, and you wouldn't need to hedge, because you know that wouldn't be the route to get to your house. By saying the reason why it would be bad to get caught, and only to give a hedge, leads me to wonder, did they go to 34 Fairview and why? And then what else? And then what was McCabe doing with Lank for 45 minutes? Because she wasn't sitting on the toilet, I can guarantee you that. The wriggle room. So, the evidence of consciousness rather than innocent contamination from people like McCabe influencing her. I didn't want to accuse anybody of anything. This unprompted explanation reveals she understood from day one that mentioning the taillight would implicate Karen. She tells us that she made a conscious choice to withhold this information from the investigators that she knew was significant. What does that tell us about Kerry Roberts? She admits to us that she withheld evidence from the investigators. And here's the strange thing. She doesn't seem to realize what an awful faux pas it is to admit this to us. In other words, she's saying, I'm lying because I was lying from the very beginning. And yet, I think she's even lying about her lie. We then have binary memory pattern, perfect recall on safe topics, and strategic amnesia on threats. It's too precise to be organic memory failure. And then she says, I recall saying, not I remember seeing. She is remembering her statement about the events, not the events themselves. And this is often found in witness statements where they're distancing from the actual experience. It's the mark of constructed narrative. And she was caught lying with video evidence. Repeated bathroom explanation. She volunteers twice unprompted what Jen McCabe is doing in Lank's house. The repetition reveals sensitivity and need for this cover story to be believed. She's sensitive about, well, because she knows, I was going to say she knows it's bullshit, but it's Jennifer McCabe shit, isn't it? Sorry about that. Her 45-minute visit is just not credible. One or two. She won't commit to the number of children that they're dropping off in order to get McCabe alone in the car. Calm acceptance when proven wrong. Not a buy or leave. Doesn't care. Just move straight on. Cognitive dissonance. Off the charts, if we're being generous. And involvement in the conspiracy, Brian Albert's conspiracy theory, at worst. What I'm looking for is still not here. She expected to find some form of hedge in her grand jury testimony, and she couldn't find it. Her pattern: deny, hedge, admit pattern on evidence. No, nothing, I don't think so. We watched my testimony. Classic deceptive responses: deny, create wriggle room, admit when cornered only. We have strategic protection of others going on. The hedges are whether Steve Nelson said replacement was fine while confirming outcome occurred, etc. And then the 50 plus contacts, or perhaps slightly less, as McCabe's conduit for information gathering. She has become McCabe's spy, and McCabe is the group's information gatherer. Sometimes Jen would say, could you ask Steve this? So she admits active participation in narrative coordination and not the passive witness role. If she's gone too far, depending on what evidence can be found, has she joined McCabe going too far? With McCabe famously Googling Hoss Long to die in the cold. I mean, that is callous, isn't it? Was John still struggling, showing no visible signs of life? And she's Googling, planning to put him in the cold, rather than calling 911 and giving him every single chance to leave him in the cold for 4 hours and then call. Callous. Will the FBI give McCabe a free pass if she cooperates? Or has she gone so far into the criminality of the conspiracy that they're just not interested in McCabe and that she's going to be charged along with the rest of them? I don't know. Or are they open to any of them cooperating, do you think? Or do you think it has to be the people not involved in the actual violence, as an example? Or do you think if it was Colin and Higgins and Albert involved in the violence, perhaps one more than the others, do you think that they could gain some sort of deal if they cooperate with the FBI? Well, it would all come out in the end, because the murder of a Boston cop doesn't go unsolved. Final verdict: highly likely conscious testimony management. Roberts demonstrates awareness of exposure risk through binary memory pattern, strategic hedging, guilty knowledge of tail light significance, calm acceptance when the video proves her wrong, and active participation in narrative coordination. Her statement, "I didn't want to accuse anybody," reveals she knew the tail light significance from day one, but chose silence. She tells us, in her own words, she tells us she chose not to tell the investigators. She chose to hide evidence, she tells us, and then later chose elaboration when it served the prosecution. This is not innocent contamination. This is conscious management of constructed narrative with full awareness of what she's doing. So that brings us to the end of today's VEROSCOPE. If you got some value out of today, please do like the video, or please do subscribe, where we are going through a different analysis most days, including most of the witnesses in the Karen Reid trial. So we're about halfway through Kerry Roberts. We'll do another one tomorrow, and I look forward to chat with you in the comments.